It's great to be amongst you all. And I feel younger today amongst such a great youth of this country. I'm going to put all this into perspective. Man amongst the machine, the man behind the machine, and who else is behind the man. And I've got to tell you this, that while I'm actually talking about heart disease, I'm an interventional cardiologist. What do I mean by an interventional cardiologist? I actually open up blocked arteries. You well know that heart disease is the #1 killer in this country. 50% of the deaths in the world from heart disease happen in this country. And it's all because of this little arteries which run on the surface of the heart, and a blockage in one of them leads to heart attack, leads to death. And I just happen to have a profession which open up these clogged arteries. I'm a plumber by profession. It's just that I deal with human lives. And I deal with them every day, and this technique of blowing up little balloons, and by the way, these are 2 and 3 millimeters in diameter, so they're really very small. And we approach them from the groin, non-operatively, put these little balloons into the arteries of the heart, and open them up. And this technique, which started 35 years ago, is what provides me my livelihood and bread and butter. When I trained in England and returned back, this handsome guy, many years ago, returned back from England after 10 years, and actually pioneered numerous technologies for Asia-Pacific region. At that day, it was just ballooning of the arteries, and we progressed to cutters, drillers, scaffolders, scrapers, everything which I pioneered for Asia-Pacific region, till we came to this, what we call a stent. And a stent is what you hear of as the present treatment. These are like scaffolds. It's almost like putting girders into a tunnel and opening it up. And this is the tunnel, and then you blow up a balloon, and there's a scaffold, a spring-like device which goes in, and lo and behold, these 2-3 millimeter arteries are open, stops a heart attack, stops a person from dying, relieves him of symptoms, gets him back to normal. I'm sure by this time, many of you, your relatives, friends, hopefully not you yourselves, have already had some form of a treatment for heart disease. It is actually the biggest killer. Every family has at least one patient having heart disease. So the science progressed, we progressed, India grew, and new technologies came in, and then most recently, over the last 7-8 years, I've been closely involved with development of a very fascinating device. This device is now made of plastic, no more metal. It is programmed, because it's PLA, it's programmed to dissolve over a period of 3 to 4 years from within the coronary arteries. Remember, those metals which we were putting inside the arteries of the heart could not be taken out. It was like a plaster which was left forever. And these metal things, more and more of them getting put in for years and years of patients' life, were not the best permanent implants. So I've been involved in the development of this device, which is a dissolvable stent. And actually, recently, I was at the FDA panel in the United States after an invitation where we presented our experience and data, which led to the approval of this device, on a unanimous proposal for approval of this device in the United States. So I was one of the 10 members across the world who developed this very futuristic technology. Now the man works around these machines, which are really very high tech, which are getting higher and higher tech. We have imaging modalities. We're able to see these 2 millimeter arteries as large as practically huge on the screen to be able to do these procedures. And at the end of the day, these are the sort of blockages we see. You see, these 2 millimeter arteries to us look like at least a centimeter large on those imaging modalities that we use on those cath labs. But further going on, as we clear these arteries, I want to tell you that we were the first one to actually do percutaneous valve implantation as well, just non-surgically replace a valve in the heart through an angiography-like method in the cath lab. Now, I don't want to bore you with these technologies as to how we progressed across this, because my philosophy is going to be something different around this. While we explore these options, which are very fascinating for the elderly, minimally invasive, where we put valves through the groins and the patient can walk the next day and get discharged the 3rd day, and we can actually change valves, we can actually have sick patients with heart attacks in shock status, where we can actually put these devices, which are almost like a submersible water pump, which suck blood out from the from the heart put it to the rest of the body, and you can have these sucking devices which you actually put inside the heart in a cath lab-based procedure, and a patient who comes in shock, airlifted, on a ventilator, on support systems, with a blood pressure of 70, walks away 5 days later, being very thankful to us who's managed to save the lives. Innovative technologies where we just give artificial hearts to the patient who's failing his heart at the age of 73 and still wants to lead a useful life thereafter, can actually be given an artificial heart and be walking 5 days later and can be going home with that artificial heart 3 weeks later. Or we can actually replace hearts of a 16-year-old boy and give him another lease of life. So really, what we are doing is a truly skilled individuals with brains behind all these fascinating technologies, giving lives to patients every day. And we are supermen. I am a superman. If you said so, I would fly. And I do this daily for a living. People's lives are in our hearts. I go out there and I tell the patient's relatives, I've treated him. He's alive. He's going to go home. And they look at me and say, gosh, you're a god. They say, how? Thanks for the miracle. And I say, it's okay. And then I have these occasional days when I go there. It hasn't worked out so well. Everything I did the same. And then the patient dies. And he dies on my table. And the biggest, toughest walk is to the relatives. Going there and telling the relatives that he's no more. And they look at me and say, gosh, but you're supposed to be a god. You treat people. They never die in your hands. How come he died? And I wonder as to why I did nothing wrong. I did everything the same at every time. And this God could not save that individual. Why was that? I'm going to take you through actually the total reversal of what I told you. I'm going to take you through this fact that we're deconstructing identities and reconstructing perceptions. There's a man behind the machine. What else is there? Well, I do this every day. I do this every day because this life revolves. I'm considered, by the way, the Tendulkar of interventional cardiology, not just in India, across the world. It's been said many times. Many people in India want to emulate me, want to be what I do, how I do it, the successes I achieve. And then there's that situation where I say, this is all about skills. This is all about technique. This is all about technology. And this is all about saving lives. But it doesn't always happen that way. So I used to think, why? Till this happened to me. What happened to me was around many years ago. At the peak of my career, I developed a severe pain in my left arm. I was there, I was doing fine, and then the severe pain started hurting so badly suddenly that I couldn't even move my arm. I had to put my arm on a pillow practically every night to sleep day after day. Painkillers did not work. The best of physiotherapy did not work. The best of drugs did not work. I went on to acupressure. I went into acupuncture. And days went by and I gave up my profession completely. So from the peak of my career, I actually stopped working. 5 weeks later, I started realizing that I was nobody. I had no visions of returning back to my profession ever. The greatness of Dr. Ashok Seth had disappeared within a few days. I actually consulted numerous surgeons across the world who said, you have a 50% chance of success on surgery, you may never get better. And I decided to go abroad for surgery, for that. The only difference was that my wife said to me, why don't you actually go and take the blessings of our spiritual guru, our spiritual whoever, and take the blessings and then go. And I said, okay. And I went, we stood around there for 3 days before we got his blessings. And we finally did with a bit of a pat on my shoulder. And we said that was a sign for me to go abroad and have surgery. On the 3rd day, before I was about to go abroad, who treats, who actually gives, plays with life every day. I wouldn't say play, who actually deals with life every day. would actually be the fact that we go into the 21st century combining spirituality with science, which will treat all the ills of the society. Thank you very much for your attention.